Hello, welcome. It's day 176 of 365 days towards racial change. My name is Tom Lynn's not back. We're here talking about black issues in America. Please forgive me, I got a little scratch in my throat. It's summertime and the summer virus is making its way through the ranks. Um, I think I've gotten away pretty much unscathed this season. We'll see how it goes, but going to notice a little frog in the throat. It's all good. Got a commitment. Better than the postman. Um, Rain, snow, or shine, we're going to deliver. Okay? Black issues in America. Um, what it means to be black. Oh, organization to better ourselves as a community, holidays, politics, economics, all these things. We talk about history is very important. Look at history a lot. We see where we came from, see if things have changed much for black folks here in America. Um, Two major thoughts plague me as I continue this project. First is the mind of black folks. Has it recovered from slavery? You know, does a child of, of parents, if those parents are together, does that child come into life into a free society, emancipated, participating mentally? Let's just say mentally, all things being equal. Are their parents able to instill some of that important information um, for self-determination, um, for a sense of belonging, you know, uh, and some character traits, integrity, honesty. Um, do these things readily come from a person who's been whipped and chained and manipulated and raped and beaten and had stolen from, um, had their self-esteem um, stripped away? You know, are they able to teach that? You teach some of the better things to their children, to generation. Does it continue on? Does it suddenly spring forth in a healthy way, coming out of that context? We'll see. We'll talk. That's what kind of we talk about a little bit here. Now, the second thought, about the mind of America. Uh, Flip side of the same coin. What about the white mind? Um, to oppress, to take advantage of, uh, to engage in acts of terrorism, really, against people based on their skin color. You know, does that suddenly vanish? That privilege, entitlement, does that vanish because we write little phrases on a document of the nation and whatnot? You know, and is that family, are those parents, basically in their opulence and wealth and comfort and privilege, do they readily communicate um, a sense of equality, inclusion to people, especially black people, people with black skin? I think we got some issues there about the mind of Americans. And then my second big thought is for financial literacy among black folks. Do we know how to handle money, create business entities, move, live, breathe um, properly in America, navigating our funds effectively to work for us, holding on to more of our um, energy that we've stored. And when we go out, I'm a blue collar worker still, and I think I got a long way to go. Heavily in debt, you know, the American dream. You know what I mean? Um, Financial literacy is one of the aspects of moving out and beyond where we um, where we are, getting out from under, so to speak, getting around this system created by whites, for whites, administered by whites. Hard task. And financial literacy is a big step in getting us, uh, getting some momentum, excuse me, in this thing. I'm inspired by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. Read 3 of his great works. He's got plenty of other material out there. He's got videos all over YouTube as well. First book I read was A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. We reference these books heavily. This informs our discussion throughout this whole year. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice. And we are in that text today. If you have it, it's page 175. Leadership, we're going to start a leadership series here. And Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. You'll find aspects of leadership, a lot of things, but this is some concrete steps we can take. Also, the August 10th Harvest Festivals, celebration right around the corner, um, 2019, and we're going to see how that goes. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com and the Heritage Institute in Washington, D.C. Behind me, you'll see the hashtag #US2 symbol. Find black women there conversing, supporting one another. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, for a black Facebook kind of experience. Um, and this is the World Wide Web. If you can't find your flavor out of all the billions of people transmitting and blogging, vlogging here, do what I did. Start your own little community. Put your family on a private email list like I did, and just get the ball rolling. Just got to start somewhere. And finally, I don't have it with me today, but we look at fictional life of slavery in America. We can get a lot of great discussions going out of Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe. And we just finished up a little 4-part series on chapter 18. Very important, seeing some of the particulars of slaves' lives. We're further south. We start out, the narrative starts in Kentucky. Things are pretty much almost civilized, if you can say that about slavery. Now Tom is down south. He's in New Orleans. And things are a little much more challenging for black folks as the further south you go. Geographically, that's par for the course. You got your free north, and we've talked about what that really means. But then you get the slave south, where it's kind of organized, and you'll find probably more blacks literate and whatnot. But then as you go further south, there's a degradation of slave existence back then in America. Might be so today. I just read an article from a friend, one of our subscribers, about the abandonment of uh, financial resources, banking. We had white flight. Well, now we've got banking flight out of communities black communities. And hopefully we're not going to talk about it today, but maybe we can institute some plans to make that a reality for black folks. Okay, now kick off our leadership uh, series here. It might be extensive. I'll punctuate it. Try to keep the post overall interesting, but we gotta take some strong meat every once in a while. We can't be on milk and having funsies all the time here. This is a serious matter, deadly. Black black men are still being executed on the streets. You don't get one in the leg anymore. You don't get gang tackled anymore. The white police officers are just mowing black men down, still consistently. Not as deadly as a couple years ago, 2016, 2017. It was almost daily, but it still just populates the news, you know. So we got to get with that. So we got to talk about seriously some of these issues. So today's an introduction of some leadership strategy here for us at Racial Change and the black community at large in general. You know, we need to start thinking how complexity breeds the necessity for direction and focus. We can dig holes, lay foundations, make our plumb lines true, but we do want to build up an edifice on top of that, on top of those foundations. And to do that, we need organization, complex ideas, imagination, all working together. And from those aspects, leadership will arise naturally. Actually, it'll arise as the community comes along and focuses around a common goal and a common issue. We see that in the civil rights, social integration movement. You know, uh, the movement galvanized the black people of America. And you know, um, we affected some change in America. At least we had some stuff written down there. Same way with leadership. Dr. Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, Medgar Evers, these men, and Rosa Parks and other women. I'm sorry, I don't have a whole lot of female names in my category. That's my fault. But these leaders rose up. Malcolm X, people like that, rose up out of the ranks of the community just naturally, and uh, those people associated with those systems and in that place and time probably saw some positive change and benefits. It was challenging, though, deadly at times, but there was movement upward. You I feel like we've since lost some of that voice and that momentum, and it's getting worse. Nevertheless, if we're going to see some dynamic movement in America for black folks where we are dominating the headlines with good and productive uh, movements in America, that'll be a good sign for us. Get back some ownership of media things like that. Dr. Anderson talks about all that. All right. Uh, so, our success is going to rest on the nature, the integrity of our leadership. And I don't care if it's man or woman, you know, it, I'll follow a person, I want to be able to close my eyes and try to suspend judgment on the skin color and see this person as someone I'm going to harmonize with to uh, create a better black community, better black experience in America overall. Uh, Past black leadership was challenged because of the outcome. We got symbols, uh, white marble statue of Dr. Martin Luther King carved by an Asian on the Washington Mall. That I don't think that should. There's plenty qualified black people, and I didn't want it. I don't want it just to be because of the person's black, and I don't want the statue to be bronze or a darker material like that. There is black marble and stuff, but I guess it would be hard to find one solid chunk like that. Marble is marbled anyway. Um, I bet you one big enough does exist though. Anyway, uh, but there you go. The black people are so passive, and big government, corporate, political machines put up this statue, and it's not quite right. I feel so. Black leadership in the past. I'm grateful for it though, because now we know what doesn't work, what needs improvement. Always room for growth, no matter where we are, where we rest in this, in our situation here. We can always go higher and higher. Now, fortunately, we got a lot of room still for growth. We're not participating equally. Uh, we're not included in business structures. Too many. Where's black management? Where's black leadership? Where's uh, overt overall black participation within the system? Our leaders in the past, they came up, had a meteoric rise, but something happened to deflect. Some of it was the black leaders uh, demurred to a certain degree to this inclusion language and these inclusion methods, implementations within America, and we lost a lot of ground, a lot of momentum with that. One can be seen in the numerical strength of the Hispanic community, um, the organizational strength of the Asians, Arabs. They as the black community in the struggle. Once we included immigrants and allowed that language uh, to blend with our experience, we lost a lot of ground. So there's some points on past leadership. Now let's talk about. He's got 4 points, and I'll finish up here with 4 points and maybe some more commentary. So leadership is going to arise as blacks um, interact with each other, have some group loyalty and consistency in community, and some healthy leadership uh, will spring from that. As our experiences collectively become sophisticated, now this kind of it's predicated on black people behaving properly and moving in a certain direction and presenting them how they present themselves in America. Uh, but as we get better with that, then we our leaders are going to spring forth. Remember about the system. I'm starting to say this more. How this system, you know, the white folks from Europe came over to the Americas, discovered, or however they got here, appropriated the land, kidnapped the slaves. Even if it was some kind of commerce between maybe African chiefs and things like that, I'm sure a lot of that was going on. It's still a kidnapping. Would you really willingly get on a boat? I wonder how you get millions of people to submit, get on a boat. You're not telling them the whole story. They're not making an informed decision. You know, um, in the first place, and there's evidence that slavery was a thriving institution even before the Europeans began stacking them like cordwood in boats and bringing them to America. So the American land, it's created by whites for whites, administered by white folks, and us blacks always have to be. We need special attention to get written in like that. So, what we need to understand, as far as leadership goes, that how white leadership springs um, so naturally, whereas black leadership is going to be more reactive. We need to um, come from a position and place of more control. We need to determine our path. We can't, you know, let's take issue like police shootings of black folks. That's our reaction. So we want to lead some kind of campaign to to educate police and law enforcement about de-escalation and all this and going forward. Instead of maybe proposing uh, some forward-thinking, self-determined leadership around the issue. You know, you know, in some respect, of course, it's not the victim's fault to get murdered, but we do want to look at where are these black men? What are their spaces? Are they educated about sudden movements? When in my experience, whenever I'm pulled over, like if I'm driving by a place, I keep my hands on the steering wheel and do not move. I follow that individual's instructions. One quick move or something. Uh, I was on college campus, rightfully there, being a student, get there early, and I was practicing some martial arts and whatnot, and I'm approached by two officers. The lighting was a little dim, you know. But I didn't have my identification on me. It was in my bag. I asked, you know, identifications in my bag. Can I get so they know? Do blacks know how to communicate? It's a two-way street, long conversation, but black leadership needs to be self-determined, forward-thinking, proactive. Not reactive. If the brother is shot, dead, and gone, it's too late, really. Yeah, in hindsight, we can. present gun legislation, educate law enforcement, um, condition the black community in its demeanor around law enforcement and all that. But all this is after the fact. We're reacting to a situation that happened rather uh, than avoiding it, rather than fostering some trust um, among those communities, the black community and predominantly white law enforcement. So that's a problem. In the white system, the white white people are proactive. They're on top of it. They see some change coming and they make adjustments. You know, blacks start moving into their communities. You go ahead and let black folks start doing well and start populating some of these gated communities. I'm in a city. Many cities have these gated communities, exclusive communities. You let black folks start moving in there. White folks are gonna like see the handwriting on the wall and start exiting that space. They're going to be proactive. Blacks have a different standard for selecting and developing, recognizing leadership. We love charismania and all that. I hope one day we kind of get past that and just say, is that man or woman qualified? What's their message? They got to break dance and jump up and down and use extreme Baptist like homiletics to get the point across. You just give me the message. What's the message? And uh, our leadership, back to almost this reactionary discussion, is so much based on the socioeconomic um, concerns and needs. The community is depressed, so we got to kind of beat our drum about making it better for black folks. Where white folks have much more of an option. They're not coming from that space of privation and extreme need as much as our black leadership may come from. Cory Booker, great example. He still keeps his home in immersed in a challenged black neighborhoods. You would think that his presence would be a shining light, things would change and stuff like that. He's like, no, I do interviews in my community. People are still getting shot dead on the streets. So it's it's very challenging. So where he's coming from, a black man running for president, he's going to be very much in tune. But his message is going to be very much about um, these socioeconomic needs and concerns as they bear upon the community. It's going to motivate a big chunk of his message. He's going to be articulate and very uh, adroit and clear uh, about solutions in all black inner city neighborhoods through America. We want our leader to be a person who persuades the group to work toward a common goal. I'm going to finish with this. Our goal, I think, for black leadership, we're going to want to uh, get some economic justice together, wealth, power, equal enjoyment of the American dream. We don't have that. We really don't. I want to, I want to get to that place in America for black folks where we're not fighting attitudes, stereotypes, where we're not looked at. When we enter a room or a space, people don't become more apprehensive because our black skin is present there. Those are some of the things, some important things we need to look at and think about in how leadership is going to position us um, in participating properly in America, unfettered, self-determined. Those are some things. What it looks like, I don't know, because it's going to be different for everybody. But right now, blacks are economically oppressed, socially oppressed, numerically oppressed. We're oppressed in the workplace and getting uh, uh, participating access as some of our counterparts, Hispanics, whites, Arabs, Asians, things like that. We are not properly represented in some of the upper structures of society here in America. So that's just a brief introduction. We're going to go over some different points of analysis from Dr. Anderson's book here and see where this discussion on leadership takes us for the next couple days. I'm Tomlin's Lieback, day 176 out of the way. Thanks for hanging out. And, let me know if you want to be on my private email list as a subscriber. It's easy to put you on and take you off. No problem. Be well. I'll see you tomorrow.